Here we have Ellie. She's well, she's just kind of demonstrating. But anyway, whoop section. We're just trying to put some of the same obstacles that you would get in a little arena cross track. It wouldn't be the first time we've done this. So, series of 5 whoops. I'm just gonna kind of walk around our little track. Look at this, and then later we'll show the bikes on it. Hey, Wonder Dog. Come here. There we go, Ellie. Over the jump. Good dog. And again, she demonstrates. What a good dog. This is another jump we built. Fortunately, we've had to build all the jumps. I think the next thing we'll probably do is get some hay bales. We have horses too, so the guy we get hay from, if I can find some bales maybe that have gone bad, buy them for cheap, we can build some decent sized jumps out of hay bales. So you stack up the hay bales, stake them down to the ground, then cover them with dirt. You got a jump for a season that's pretty decent. You can do a tabletop, or some things you can do. And the other thing we've done so far is just element shovel work, that's pretty tough. You can get a lot more done. You get a tractor with a blade on it, or a skid steer, but yeah, you make the best with what you got at the time. And I would say the other thing is, I ride 450s, you've probably seen some of the other videos. And if you can learn how to ride a big bike in real tight stuff, I think it really helps in everything else. The downside is you got to get out in some wide open areas too, where you can get into 4th and 5th gear. Get the bigger upper gears on the gearbox. Otherwise, it's terrifying. So you got to do it and get used to it. That's all part of it. I think that's probably the downside of practicing on a tight track too much. This is one really tight corner that I put in. It's basically a 180. It is ridiculously tight, but I'll see. I'm going to show you. It comes through here. It's kind of a little straightaway here. It comes around. You got to bend around this little tree here. And I did it on purpose for me, mostly, just to stay on my toes when you're riding the 450. And if you can get around this corner on the 450, there isn't really too much out there that is really going to challenge you too much out in the race world. So that's really the idea behind this one. So the other thing we tried to do was, it's a pretty small track. It's probably a quarter of a mile around. We tried to make it so you could ride it in both directions, so you kind of get 2 tracks out of one, which is, I think, probably a good solution if you don't want to travel all the time to go practice. So fortunate, it's right next to the house and it's on our property, so it's taken a couple years to carve it out of the woods, and we've still got lots of widening to do, but the basic layout is finally in place. Ellie the Wonder Dog's right on cue here tonight. Here she is standing on, we've got what probably at some point will become a double, but it's really one of these obstacles that's really awkward, and right now it kind of works out good with the younger kid. Bob is a 13-year-old. He'll be 14 in December. He's been riding bikes only for about 3 years. He started out on those little 49cc 2-strokes you can buy online, which those things are a mechanical disaster, but when they do run, they're pretty good for kids. He was able to jump right on it and ride it right away, which is great, but boy, I spent a lot of time wrenching on it. Probably spend as much time wrenching on it as riding it. So be prepared if you're going to get into one of those, but at the time it seemed like a good idea. Bob had never been on a bike, and they seemed cheap enough, and but unfortunately, yeah, they take a lot of work to keep them running. And every bolt will come loose on those, so be prepared. The next thing we did was, which I love, is we bought an Apollo 125 pit bike. It was through Cougar Cycles, through Killer Motorsports, and absolutely we love that thing. It's fun for everybody to ride. It is a tank. That bike has been crashed. I want to say Bob has put it down 200 times, and really to no fault of the bike. It's just Bob's learning how to shift and do all that stuff when he got on it. And it was a little tall for him. And like all teenage kids, he grew 2 feet the last year. So now he's riding a CR125, which you've probably seen in some of the videos. But we still love the pit bike. I like to get on it and get everybody fits on it against all the other stuff, and it works out just about perfectly on this track. So I can't say enough. I think the invasion of the Chinese motorcycles is going to be a very good thing for the American dirt biker. They still take a little more work as far as keeping bolts tight on them, but they seem to be pretty bulletproof. I wouldn't say they're as fast or as handle or as light as a Japanese bike by any stretch of the imagination, but the price is right on them, and a little work and a little elbow grease and a little thought, I think you can have something viable to ride. So I've been real concerned about how expensive dirt bikes have become, and me personally, I'm not ready to dish out $9,000 for a stock dirt bike. That's a pretty tough pill to swallow. So anyway, that's my take on it. I'm just kind of wandering around the track here. We're going to come over to the backside of the whoops, and we'll call the look over without bikes on it good. And, I don't know how much it'll be cut and spliced between bikes on and bikes off, but that's part of the fun of the evolution of a video too. Here you can see the backside of the whoops. I'm going down a small straightaway before you hit these whoops, and none of us have quite figured them out yet. It's a little tricky, a little spooky, because I think the whoops are certainly doable to hop through them, rhythm through them, but right now the price of coming off and getting thrown into the trees probably is not a good option. So everybody's been kind of taking their sweet time. I think my oldest son has doubled into the first set of them and singled everything else. It's your whole thought process before you hit them, what you are going to commit to. I guess, as James Stewart would say, you got to commit. And there you go. And of course, Ellie was able to hop through there. Anyway, it's getting dark, and next thing you will see was motorcycles.